Ford is making more headlines, Dad. They are getting rid of their dealers, one step at a time.
Stop! They're not getting rid of their dealers, okay? Mr. Hyperbole.
GM, Mary Barra, she's getting rid of...
They're not getting rid of their dealers.
But they're doing it's big
no,
news.
they're adjusting their dealer network as to how they're going to sell electric vehicles in the future. That does not mean that they're getting rid of their dealers.
All right, let's explain what's going on. But I think it is a very obvious step towards selling direct to consumer, following in the footsteps of their peers at Tesla, Rivian, etc. But what's the news? $1.2 million needs to be invested in order to sell EVs.
A minimum of $500,000 needs to be invested if you want to be a certified Ford e-dealer, and that is for fast chargers, and one of them has to be public. It has to be a public-facing fast charger. If you're only on the certified program, if you're certified elite, the minimum investment initially is $900,000. That includes 2 fast chargers, one of which has to be public facing, and then they anticipate another $300,000 investment a couple of years down the line for a total investment of $1.2 million. Having said all that, the dealers that decide to do it have to agree to a non-negotiated price on the vehicle. The price will be set by Ford. The dealer will agree to sell the vehicle at that price as it was set by Ford. That is the aspect of it that is Tesla-like, in the sense that there's no negotiation on the price. The difference between Ford and Tesla is the Ford will have dealers that will be the delivery center for these vehicles for their customers.
But we are taking away a big step in the current process, which is you negotiate with the dealer on the price of the vehicle, which is a step towards, I think, owning more control, having more control over the actual transaction of the vehicle. I mean, it is. They're setting more strict guidelines, and they're saying, hey, this is how you have to do it. And so net, I think that is pushing towards Ford having a direct-to-consumer relationship still through the conduit of the dealer. And if I may,
I think you're conflating, but go ahead.
Well, I don't know, Dad. If you look down the line,
the relationship is still between the customer and the dealer.
But how will this evolve? I guess is where my mind goes. Like 10 years from now, we will not. Do you not think we'll look back on this and say, okay, this was Ford and Farley taking the first steps to move beyond the dealer network?
Not if you're saying to your dealer body that the minimum investment that they have to make is $500,000 if they want to do it, and they'll have a limited availability of EVs, and if you want to become an elite, certified elite electric dealer, you'll have increased allocations and $1,200,000 worth of investments that you have to make. You're not asking these dealers to make those investments so you can say 10 years from now, oh, by the way, you're not going to be able to be a dealer and sell these vehicles anymore. Ford is just taking a page out of Tesla's book in that they want to set the price.
Yeah.
And the price will be the price. You know, regardless of what dealership you pick your vehicle up at. You'll order the vehicle through Ford. Ford will drop ship it to your dealer of choice. You'll know the price before the vehicle ever arrives. You'll go in and you'll pick it up. So you might thin out some of your dealer network.
So again, in terms of steps, and so I was reading Steve Greenfield. He is a really well-respected venture capitalist in automotive. I was reading his LinkedIn post on this, and in the comments, it's all sorts of people in auto, and a lot of them, Dad, are actually echoing the same sentiments I'm saying. They're saying, oh, this is the first step for Ford to go more direct to consumer, and I found that interesting, because that was industry people saying, oh, wow, this feels like we're moving towards D2C. That being said, this feels eerily similar to what's going on at Buick in the sense that Buick offered buyouts to dealers who did not want to convert to their EV-only sales or products that they're going to be putting forth by 2025.
Yes.
This is essentially the same offer to those Ford dealers who can obviously not afford a $500,000 to $1.2 million investment in their infrastructure. There are a lot of Ford dealerships that will never pull the trigger on spending that much money, and I think this is a way to also try and consolidate the number of Ford dealerships out there as well.
Yeah, but those dealers that don't want to participate and they have to let Ford know by October 31st whether they're in or whether they're out when it comes to selling electric vehicles.
That's a short turnaround.
It is. But the difference is, it doesn't mean they're not going to be Ford dealers anymore.
Yeah.
It just means they're going to be Ford internal combustion engine
Ford
dealers.
Blue
Yes.
dealers, yeah.
So it doesn't mean that they're closing their dealership. It just means they've decided not to participate in the electric vehicle. And if they decide against it now, they'll have the opportunity again, I think, in 2027 to reevaluate their position and to make a determination if at that point in time they might want to become a Ford E dealer and
Ford Model E, yeah.
and make whatever investments are required at that time in order to do it.
Buying a car? Let the team at YAA help. Use the code FALL20 and save 20% on a YAA membership, or use FALL100 and save $100 on an extended warranty.
Yeah, okay, so you seem to think this is not too big of a deal. We're moving in this direction where everyone's going to be selling EVs. Got it. It's a good thing in your mind that the price is the price.
Yes.
But this is not the end of dealers. This is not
No.
laying the groundwork for.
No, and I don't know that everything's going to hinge on what the margins are going to be that Ford has baked into these vehicles for the dealer. I mean, if dealers today are operating on a 10 to 15% margin between floor plan assistance, marketing assistance, hold back, other incentives.
The spread from invoice to MSRP.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the under the line. If that spread is somewhere between 10 to 12%, let's say, but for instance, on Mach-E's, the spread for the dealer is 3%. Well, that's not a big enough margin. Okay, so the big drawback's going to be the negotiation between Ford and its dealer body as to what that spread has to be in order for a dealer to want to participate. A 5% spread is probably not going to be big enough.
Yeah.
So my supposition is that maybe you end up at somewhere around 7.5% to 8%. And on the internal combustion engine side, you still remain at the 10 to 12% for the time being. But that'll be the big sticking point is, A, how many vehicles are they actually going to be able to produce?
Yeah, of course.
So that the dealers can get some type of return on their $1.2 million investment.
Sure.
And then what the margins are going to be.
So we do not see eye to eye on this one, and that is
I don't
okay.
think so.
And I think the reason we don't is because you're talking about, you essentially, if you're Ford, you
Yeah.
have two masters that you have to serve. One is your end user, your customer, who's
Yes.
actually paying you, adding the accessories, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yes.
The other is your dealer body, and no matter what, the two are always going to be in conflict with one another. The consumer wants to spend less, the dealer wants to make more. You want to sell as many vehicles as possible. The calculus, I feel like, at the executive level at Ford is it more expensive to sell direct to consumer and deal with all of the trials and tribulations that will happen, the court cases, everything, the customer service, all of that? Is it more expensive to do that, or to allocate 10 to 12% of every single vehicle sold, almost like a royalty, to our dealers? That's the calculus that I think is going on right now, and I'm not saying they've answered it, but that's the equation, is which is the better business model for us 100 years from now? Because that's what they're laying the foundation for, is the next 50, 100 years. And the reason I think you are wrong is because it's not only Ford. GM's doing it with Buick. Volkswagen's doing it with Scout. They're doing it with the Scout brand. We also have Volvo doing it with Polestar. We are seeing more and more. And then you have the upstarts like the Rivians, the Teslas, the Lucids. Their market capitalizations are way up there. And so I think these executives are going to be pushed to follow in the footsteps of the Teslas of the world and ultimately go more direct to consumer. They're not doing it today. They're not doing it tomorrow, but they're laying, I think, the groundwork to do it.
This will be one of those ones where we can agree to disagree.
Let us know in the comments down below. Are you Team Dad? Or are you Team Zach?
Or are you no team at all?
Or are you no team at all? Let us know.
Or you don't really give a damn.
Well, thanks for talking about it with me, Pops.
My pleasure, honey.